50-year mortgages, good thing, bad thing? Let's talk about it. So I think the first thing we have to think about with this is at one time there was 40-year mortgages, and those mortgages had a higher interest rate than 30-year mortgages. Now it stands to reason that if we do get these 50-year mortgages, a higher mortgage rate would probably also come with those. I think one other thing to point out, just to kick things off with some of maybe the possible downsides of this, is when those 40-year mortgages were a thing, that's also when subprime mortgages were also a thing, and I think we all know how that turned out. So let's break down some of the numbers on this. A 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage, the difference in those is usually about 0.5% in your mortgage rate. So if we were to say, okay, we added another 0.5% for that 50-year mortgage, what would that look like? Well, according to this math I got here, a $300,000 loan, which in this area of Florida that we're living is doable. I would say like in Northport. By the way, if you're looking to buy or sell a home anywhere from Sarasota down to the Port Charlotte, Inglewood areas, we do serve these areas and can help you out. Call or text our team at 941-221-1897 at any time. We've helped a lot of people and we would love to help you too. Now to do the math on this, for a $300,000 loan, if there's that 0.5% interest rate change between a 30-year and a 50-year, the difference would be a savings of about $91 a month. Again, that's with that 0.5% interest rate change. Now for devil's advocate, let's just say they don't change their interest rate for some reason between that 30 and 50-year mortgage, then you would be saving closer to like $200. Now, $100, like, is it worth it? You know what I mean? And that's probably the more realistic scenario. But if they don't change the interest between the two, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but if they didn't, $200, okay, now that can maybe, make an impact, for your monthly expenses. I can see that. $100, not even, 90 bucks, I mean, still is helpful, but I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna move the needle that much for people, especially when you put into consideration a lot of these other things that we're gonna get into right now. So the first thing I think to consider is owing for 50 years is like, you're kind of like kicking the can down the road, like very literally. You could have your home paid off in 30 years or 15 years and not have to worry about that payment for years and years and years and years. Like just the idea of that to I think a lot of people, me for sure, it just seems like you're always kind of tied down to this cost, and you can never have that sigh of relief. And the fact that you're adding 20 years onto the loan and not really even changing your monthly payment that much, I just don't feel like for a lot of people it's going to feel worth it. And that brings up another question is if, you're saving, let's say $100 a month, 150 even for that matter, can you really afford that home? Is that home in your budget? Are you able to afford a home, period? At that rate, I would think either A, you save up some more money, or B, you find a home that's maybe in a lower price point and go with that 30-year mortgage. You're getting the same home, and which we'll talk about in a second here, you're gonna pay a lot more for that same home by going with that 50-year mortgage, whereas if you could do the 30, it would be worth it. Now, that being said, if you can't afford your monthly payments, going the 50-year mortgage might make that possible, but there's another problem with that we'll talk about in a second. First, let's talk about like how much extra money you're going to be paying. Just by adding that 0.5% and stretching that out another 20 years, the amount you're gonna be paying is insanely higher than a 30-year with that 0.5% less. So I found one analysis that shows a $500,000 loan at a 6% interest rate over 50 years might cost nearly double the interest over the life of the loan versus a 30-year loan. Is that worth it to a lot of people? I mean, again, I think a lot of people, especially new home buyers, I think people are a little more like savvy on these things and paying attention, but there's a lot of, first-time home buyers that maybe wouldn't think about that, and they're just gonna like look at whatever it takes to buy the home. And if that's the case, then they might be losing a lot of money, or just for them, again, maybe they're aware of it and it's worth it, but I just hope anyone that looks at this, if it does become a thing, is very aware of what they're getting themselves into. And that brings up another question. A lot of these people that would maybe consider this 50-year loan, maybe the idea would be for them to look to refinance. One of my biggest issues with this 50-year loan to begin with is just, it's 50 years. Like if you're looking to refinance, maybe, if you're in your 20s, 30s, early 40s and it's your first home, and you're like, okay, I'll just get this 50-year loan, and in a couple of years, hopefully rates will come down, I'll be in a better financial situation, and then I'll refinance. But what if that doesn't work in your favor? And what if your plan for your situation doesn't work out the way you're planning on it working? So, 50 years is a really, really long time, right? And so like if you can get this refinance done in the first 5 years and you're positive of this, then hey, go ahead. But again, we don't know for sure what's going to happen with the rate. So you could maybe refinance to a 30-year loan, and then that alone would make it worth it. Okay, fine, sure, whatever, as long as the interest is close enough. But I think the other thing to like look at with this 50-year span is what's going to happen with you. So much can happen in 50 years. I mean, you talk about someone like me, I'm in my mid 40s. 50 years, like I'm 95. You know what I mean? Someone that's in their 20s, you're talking about being 70 years old. So a lot can happen in that time that, yeah, either A, could be good and you could refinance, or you make more money and you pay more off, or whatever the case may be. But also, like if you're in your 40s, 50s, even late 30s, a lot can happen in 10, 15 years that changes your situation, and now you can't afford those payments anymore. And I don't think this is just looking at, negatively thinking. I think it's just being realistic, and the odds are very, very great over the course of 50 years. Now, again, that's why I think if someone were to do this, you would have to really have the mindset of like within 5 years max, I am going to turn this into some other type of a loan. I'm going to pay more of it down, whatever the case may be. But trying to hold on to that loan for the actual full 50 years is probably not the best scenario. And this really is reminiscent, I think, of what we saw with, variable rate mortgages becoming a very big thing during the, or right before, I should say, the '08 crash. You're kind of setting people up in a similar scenario, like, hey, this is a way to get you into the house, but is it the best choice? Because a lot can change, and you might have this plan, and things could very, very quickly change in those plans. But I think the biggest issue with this is it just doesn't address the root causes, the actual cost of the homes, the interest rates, affordability, supply. All those things are very, very big factors that could bring down home prices. And I think that would be a much more ideal scenario for the average home buyer. Or, maybe wages go up so much that it becomes affordable, however that needs to look. But I feel like this isn't actually making it more affordable for people. It's making the payments affordable, but you're making the house more expensive. So in a way, you're like putting a false Band-Aid on. It just doesn't really solve the actual problem, and in some ways it kind of makes it worse. Again, I think for some people, maybe this is something that could help them out and a doable thing. There's pros and cons to it. If you leverage it the right way, it could be something that's helpful. But I just think, one, for most people, it's probably not something that they would want to do. And two, I think for a lot of people also, it just would be something that probably isn't the smartest choice to do. But I don't know, maybe you've got a different perspective. Let me know in the comments down below. Again, if you're looking to buy or sell a home anywhere from Sarasota down to Port Charlotte, Inglewood. We also, of course, serve Venice, Northport, Nokomis, North Venice, all the areas in between. Get a hold of our team, 941-221-1897. Call or text at any time. We've helped a lot of people move the area, avoid mistakes, and get answers to those questions that are often impossible to find online, and we would love to help you too. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button and live breezy.